Everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Maximize Your Revit Productivity with Strucsoft and Ideate. This webinar is brought to you by Graitec. My name is Misty Scott, and I am pleased to be your moderator today. You can find a schedule of upcoming events, webinars, and training on our calendar at asti.com/calendar. I'm very pleased to introduce our experts today. Glynis is the Director of Software Development for Ideate Software at Graitec, with extensive expertise in BIM solutions for AECO clients. We also have Aparna, who is a Solution Technical Specialist for Strucsoft at Graitec. With over 10 years of experience in her field, Aparna is known for driving impactful software development and empowering users. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today. And before we get started, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to redeem a free trial for Ideate Software and Strucsoft. You can simply scan the QR code on the screen. I will also add this link at the end of the webinar during our Q&A, so you can easily click on that as well. All right, and before I turn it over, I'm going to get us started with a quick poll question for you guys. So it should be popping up here on your screen. If you could let us know which aligns most closely with your discipline, you can click construction, architecture, structural, subcontractor, MEP, or other. If it's other, we'd love to know what it is. You can drop that in the chat for us, and we'll allow a little bit of time there. So interesting to see the attendees on our webinar, so I really love to get to know you guys. All right, so one more time, I'll read it out. Which aligns most closely with your discipline? Construction, architecture, structural, subcontractor, MEP, or other, and you can drop the other in the chat. All right, so I'll go ahead and end that poll here. And then I'm gonna turn it on over to you, ladies.
Thanks, Misty.
Thank you. All right. My name is Aparna, as Misty introduced me. So today we're going to first start off with a little bit of an overview of Strucsoft and Ideate, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the technical demo that everybody looks forward to, right? So we're going to show you how to maximize your Revit productivity with Strucsoft and Ideate software. So let's get started. So let's give you a little bit of an overview of who Strucsoft is. We also want to let you know that Strucsoft is MWF will be rebranded as Strucsoft in early 2025. So look out for that in the future. So what does Strucsoft allow you to do? Strucsoft software allows you to create a detailed template-based and precise framing in a matter of seconds. You can leverage Revit's parameters to make changes model-wide, which everyone's probably aware of, and then you can elevate your model's LOD from 300 to 450 really easily using our template systems. You can enhance collaboration across all your teams, eliminating costly errors on site by coordinating within the model first. We also provide shop drawings and precision that translates directly to the shop floor. So you can easily create detailed manufacturing documentation and manage and create CNC code to power and organize your factory outputs using our tools called Onyx. You can also keep tabs on your project health, factory output from our cloud-based platform. So what do our customers say about us? So they basically love the use of MWF or Strucsoft tools so that they can manage their projects more efficiently. They can get framing into the files faster so that they can get into the coordination of the project faster. So Elaine from PCI says, I couldn't imagine taking on a project without MWF. The biggest benefit is save time, which allows me to focus on truly important tasks, which make the BIM coordination workflow fruitful for the field and other parties. And Brian from Delcassian's Manufacturing mentions the ability to improvise and pivot in MWF software to meet the last minute changes that come up on every job site, help our customers stay organized and on schedule. So this is just a few things that a lot of our clients mention about us. So what's our workflow like? So since we are a Revit-based add-on and we use Revit as our main platform, Revit is a globally accepted tool and is widely used by engineers, architects, designers, and contractors in the AEC and manufacturing industry. So whatever your source model is, your source data is what you can use as your baseline to start your structural modeling. You can go ahead and make that Revit model a linked file by linking in your structural model, your MEP files, all in one so that you can coordinate while you add in your framing. Then you can go ahead and create your fabrication model all with MWF. You can use our template-based system to quickly add framing across an entire project. You can add wood or MWF supports LGS and wood framing. You can also add truss engineering for roof and floor trusses for LGS. We also provide shop documentation, so we can create shop drawings right out of Revit, and it's all available within Revit. And if you're very familiar with Revit's data collection, and you can basically use that as a base since everything is modeled as a Revit element with MWF. So which makes your bill of materials and cut lists the most accurate because it actually considers the full length of the stud intersecting with a track and so on and so forth. And this is also helpful for manufacturing, for when it does go into manufacturing for CNC outputs, you can actually catch the changes or the issues right when you're working in the model because you can actually see how all the members are connected. And you can push it up to our cloud-based platform called Onyx to create your CNC outputs and leverage data from our source model. All right, so MWF offers a few tools, as we mentioned. So the main few are MWF Pro Metal, MWF Pro Wood, Pro Suite, Advanced Metal, and Onyx. Pro Metal basically allows you to do all Revit wall, floor, ceiling, truss, framing, all in LGS or in light-gauge steel. And WF Pro Wood allows you to do the exact same for wood modeling or wood framing. And then Pro Suite allows you to do a mix of both. So if you're a contractor and you have subs under you that work with steel and wood, you can use Pro Suite. That will allow you to be able to tackle both types of projects. Our MWF Advanced Metal is very similar to Pro Metal, except we have added our engineering database in there, and you can do truss engineering and floor system engineering in Advanced Metal as well. And then Onyx is our cloud-based platform that I've mentioned already, and this allows you to create outputs from MWF and move your Revit models over to Onyx for CNC roll formers and wood panelizing machines. All right, so MWF allows you to model with its intuitive template manager, which we'll show you a little bit in the demo. You can really quickly recognize Revit elements containing all information for accurate framing. Okay, we allow you to clash detect within the software by importing or linking in your MEP Revit models and creating beam pockets for structural beams and also little openings around ductwork within seconds. We also allow you to do engineering within the software, which using our truss designer, you can do inline, back-to-back, and wall truss configurations. All are supported within MWF Advanced Metal, and it makes the design versatile and free of constraint. All right, and then the last step is for manufacturing, you can create custom shop drawings, fully dimensioned bill of materials, cut lists, and also if you want to show a nice little 3D preview of your model, since it's all in Revit, you can definitely do that. And it also directly feeds this information up into Onyx, and Onyx feeds it to your CNC. So output a CNC file for you to be able to do your production. One of the services we offer is custom programming services. So let's say NWF does 90% of what you want, but we want a little more. We do offer Revit modeling and detailing customization. We can also create tailor-made solutions that are as Revit add-ons or AutoCAD add-ons, Inventor add-ons sometimes. We've done quite a few of those actually for some of our clients. We also provide Dynamo scripting and testing. And another one of our really well-used services is implementation and asset creation. So let's say you don't have enough resources to start building templates and start setting up NWF, we can offer those services to you. All right, so now I'm going to send it over to Glynis, and she's going to give you an overview of Ideate. Go ahead, Glynis.
Great, thanks so much, Aparna. It's been really exciting for me to learn from you about these structural framing and shop drawing workflows. I can't wait to share the juicy details in our demo today, but first, I'd like to provide just a high-level overview to those of you who may not be familiar with Ideate software and how it's leveraged by our structure and construction industry customers. Next.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, so just a little bit about Ideate software. We have been an Autodesk software developer since 1985. We create our software currently in 7 languages, though we're adding 3 more soon. And I think one of the other really important things to understand about how we work is when we do software development, we provide updates for the current version of Ideate software plus the previous 3 versions. So everything that we're going to be showing today is on 2025, and all the Ideate solutions features will also be available all the way back to 2022, so bear that in mind. Then there's some other good information on this slide about how you can reach out to our help through our team or online resources. Next. All right, so Ideate Sticky is our simplest solution to use, and also it's a fan favorite for anyone who needs to do production documentation. Next. The concept here is that with Ideate Sticky, you are live linking Excel, PDF, or Word documents into your Revit model in a way that's visually has 100% visual fidelity. And the benefit is that it can support collaboration with non-BIM users. Next. So an example of that for structural customers is something like this compressive strength table schedule, right? This is an example of information that can reside inside of a Word document, inside an Excel document, and it's linked in, just like a DWG can be linked into your project, and you can choose to have that be kind of a live link or a static link. But what that means is that a person who's not a Revit user can be writing that information in the Word document, in the Excel document, and when the one or more Revit files where that's linked, when they're opened next, that new information is going to be displayed there. So it's very powerful. Another example that's real popular for all disciplines really is to use that idea on the home page. I know a lot of you probably have a home page set up in your Revit projects, and it's a great way to collaborate with your team. So for example, here in the item that's circled, it's just a table of information about the project. The person who's managing that project doesn't need to open up Revit to update that content. They just go to the Excel file or they go to the Word document, and then again, it can be communicated to everybody in the project. So that's real common usage of Sticky. Next. Another item that's really popular, one of our solutions with our construction and structure friends, is Ideate Apps, which is a collection of 10 focus-driven tools that will decrease the time spent on common Revit tasks and increase the accuracy of your BIM data in the model. So there's a lot to unpack here within this collection, and we don't have time to go into all of it today. So I'll just mention that our construction and structure customers really appreciate the last item listed on this long list, which is the unique ability to document and review annotation clashes within your project. This is sort of, it's not model clash, it's annotation clash, right? So we're looking here is a clash between a tag and a dimension. Obviously, that's going to prevent your documents from being successful. So let's take a look at how this works. Next. So this is we're looking, in this example, we're looking at the Review tab within the Annotate tool, and we're double clicking on an annotation clash. You can see here, and then I can move that one to sort of clear it and go on to the next one. So it's a great way to really, have visibility into the quality of your documentation without visually having to scan all of them. So clashes are part of this review process, but we also have other things like blank tags that you can find. You can interact with Revit here. So I'm picking that tag, and then I'm picking the delete function to get rid of that particular problem. There's lots of different kinds of review issues. Here we have, for example, an elevation mark. Now maybe you want to leave that in there. You can also just dismiss it, which means it's not going to display as sort of a problem. So you get to decide what needs to be cleared or not. And then also very important are things like, here's some annotation that is hidden for some reason. We don't know why, but at some point there was some important text here. So we can pick that and use the X-ray function to tell us why. So it's very powerful. The next, go ahead and move on to the next one. We'll talk just a little bit about BIMLink, which is designed to seamlessly exchange extensive Revit data with Microsoft Excel. Next. So why would you do that? This is sort of the opposite of Sticky, if you will. So Sticky is about representing, displaying Excel information or Word information. BIMLink is about managing data that's inside the Revit project through the use of Excel. So, some of the common examples here are we're going to obviously, edit large volumes of schedule data, and we'll see this in the demo in a short bit. But we can also do things like create new, levels, new work sets, new sheets, new rooms, new spaces. The list really goes on about what you can actually create from Excel into your Revit project. Also, I should mention that there's over 300 pre-configured examples of data workflows that come with Ideate BIMLink, and that includes things like quantity takeoff, revision management, material management, and health checks. Next. Ideate Explorer, while BIMLink is a powerful tool for editing the model elements, Explorer is really appreciated by our construction customers for its model browsing and auditing workflows. So, for example, Ideate Explorer displays every Revit element in a modeless browser, allowing you to easily navigate and edit your Revit models. You can choose to sort the model elements by category or level, phase, or even work set. And this allows you to quickly understand and work smarter within your model or within your subcontractor's model. We know a lot of times, we're dealing with models maybe other people have created, and so that can be a challenge. And Explorer also includes a way to review and rank Revit warnings, which is really critical to Revit model health. Next. And the last, before we begin our demo, I just wanted to mention Ideate Automation, which brings often the highest return on investment to our construction and structure customers. On this screen, what we're seeing is examples of some of the workflows that are supported by Ideate Automation. Automation is a scripting solution. It runs time-intensive Revit BIM tasks in the background while your staff can do more meaningful work. The top part of the chart shown here shows some of the popular Ideate automation tasks that you can do. You can test drive yourself with the trial version. And on the lower portion are some of the more advanced tasks that require the use of not only Ideate automation, but also other Ideate software products such as BIMLink. Some of the, for example, one of the things that we can do with this is generate a quantity takeoff that is outside the Revit context. So this kind of report in Excel, for example, you could create, on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis automatically from, one or more Revit files. And you might notice that the data that's within the export goes beyond what Revit itself includes, such as the length for all multi-category elements or even design options. And exposing that kind of important data, can you go to the next slide, Aparna? Thanks. Exposing that important data in your workflows is really what Ideate BIMLink and automation are all about. Thanks. Next. And then the last example of something that's automation really tackles is, and really the most popular workflow, and we're going to see this later in the demo, is that you can schedule regular exports to PDF, DWG, NWC, or IFC. And these exports can be saved to your network, or they can be saved up to the construction cloud via the desktop connector. Now, let me turn it back over to you, Aparna, so we can dig into Strucsoft MWF.
Thank you, Glynis. It was awesome learning about all the Ideate stuff. It's been a while since I've used all the tools yet.
You bet.
All right, so let's get into our mini demonstration. So first thing we're going to talk about is our MWF tool called Quick Create. So I'm going to go ahead and play that here. All right, so Quick Create allows you to first quickly create templates all over your project. So first things first, we need to build our templates. So here I have a wall drawn. We're just going to go ahead and build out and select our members for that panel. We're going to add in some miscellaneous settings like set the spacing. You can choose to add in anchors and hold downs, hold series if you have any service holds that need to be placed. We'll set all of this up in our templates and save it as our actual template. So here, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just saving it as a nice little template and updating it with any changes that I may have made. Setting it as active, so now that will apply the changes that I've made to the template to this specific panel. And once I'm happy with it, I know the template is doing exactly what I need. I can now go into my template map, and I can go ahead and map my walls to that specific template. So let's say here we have this multi-exterior ground floor 6-inch wall, and this is the template that I've created for it. You also have the option to lock to template, which will allow you to make sure that that panel is always connected to the settings in that template. So even when you regenerate, it will always go back to whatever's set up in the template. And here it just shows you the template, the structural layer thickness, so you know exactly which template to apply for that wall. All right, so here we're going to select all of our walls and make sure we only have walls selected, and go ahead and frame it with our Quick Create tool. So just like that, you'll see that all of our panels have been created with the templates that have been assigned to them. All right. The next tool that we have here we're going to talk about is, give me 1 second. Seems to be going back into there. Sorry. So next tool we're going to talk about is our clash detection with MEP using Strucsoft MWF, and we're going to also use a little bit of Ideate for this. All right, so in here you can see a nice little model that has MEP going all through the throughout the walls. So what we need to make sure is we first link in the model. But in order for MWF to be able to clash against any of the models, we need to make sure that we have shared the model. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Ideate Explorer, for this little task. And then over here, you can see that you can sort of go through the entire project or active view or current selection to go through the model and find all the links. You can sort it by category, so the Explorer view gets sorted according to whatever you select in here. And then we have pre-created filters here to find Revit links that are not shared. So once we do that, in this project, we only have one link, but let's say if you have a massive project, you have 50 links, you can go through all of them one by one here and actually select them and see that that link has not been shared. So now I can't clash against it in MWF. So what I have to do is go to that link and go to the properties of that link and make sure that I have set it to shared. Okay. And once that happens, we can go ahead and close out of here. And now that I know that the link is shared, I can actually go ahead and select my walls and my wonderful little MEP model and clash against it using MWF. Okay. So within clash detection, here you'll see these are all the categories you can clash against: structural framing, ductwork, beams, braces, even curtain walls, so that it creates a nice little opening around them. And then you can also add in rule sets so that you can apply set markers so that it applies a certain amount of framing or certain type of framing around all the openings. So here you can see there are some openings created in the wall panel. And once you're happy with all the openings that have been created for your MEP, you can go ahead and regenerate the panels. Sorry, give that a second. And there you go. It has framed it with updated markers, and it has framed around the openings as you see there. Okay. There you go. The next option we have is shop drawings. So I'll go ahead and talk through this. So our shop drawing creation is a really great tool for anyone trying to create shop drawings. It creates a lot of shop drawings for a lot of panels in a few minutes, which is really, really great. So first things first, we need to set up our wall drawings manager. Okay, so that's our shop drawing manager. It will cache all the panels, and now we can basically set up our settings. You can set up multiple settings, but we do give you settings by defaults. So right now we're going to go through the ones that we set up for this demo. And here you can create all of your different types of views and elevation, 3D, bill of materials, hardware bill of materials, plywood elevation, plywood sheathing, schedule, and so on and so forth. And then in the sheet layouts, you can create all your different sheets if it's a multi-layer panel. Okay. If it's a single layer panel, single layer basically means you just have framing in there. You can go ahead and create your single layer framing sheet, and it will show that in there. All right. Within each view, we have a lot of dimension options available for you to meet all of your different needs of however you would like to display your information. We can go into labels and okay. We can go into labels and we can basically showcase labels for certain items as well to tag all of your things. Or you can go into smart tags and tag it how you would with Revit. So if you have a pre-created tag, you can go ahead and select those and add those in. You can set up a view template and apply that to the shop drawing if you like, or you can set up the settings yourself in that little dialog. You can also choose your custom dimension styles that you would like to apply so that, let's say you want to have openings as red or something else as blue, you can actually have those different colors for your dimensions. You can also set your view orientation according to interior to exterior of the panel, or if you want to see the exterior first to the interior of the panel, or just follow by panel direction and it will just go according to the panel direction, whereas your E1 is your left. And for your dimensions, you have different references for certain dimensions. So you can say top reference, web reference, however you like. You can choose one of those options and it will dimension your members accordingly. All right, let's go ahead and hit OK. The other thing I would like to show you is also the framing schedule here. So we're going to go through the framing schedule. And in here, you can either set up a schedule of your own by setting up the layout, the text, and the lines, or you can duplicate an existing Revit schedule by setting up that Revit schedule exactly the way you want your schedules to look. It will filter it for each panel for each shop drawing automatically. So your entire schedule should just show everything that you want it to show and with all the parameters. So this is just a way we create our bill of materials. You have your labels, your sizes, your quantities, and so on and so forth. We have two options. We have BIMSF label and schedule label. Schedule label is just a consolidated label for your members. So if there's any members that are the same size, the same height, you can have them consolidated as one label. And here we're just going to select all of them and go ahead and create our shop drawings. Okay, so the creation of our shop drawings, it allows you to select which setting you want to use. If you have it 11 by 17, you want it to be Arch C, Arch D, whatever. You can set up multiple settings and you can have it print on those sizes of tile blocks sometimes. Sometimes you may want some things to show for interior panels, but not show for exterior panels. You can have different settings because of that as well. Or maybe level 1, you want to show anchors, but level 2 and up, you know there's no anchors. You might have a separate setting to portray certain things. So now that our shop drawings are completed, we can go into our Sheets section in Revit, and you can actually take a look at our shop drawing here. So you'll see that it created an elevation view, a plan view here, and it put in all the dimensions and the tags that we asked it to within the settings. All right. And then it also creates a very nice little bill of materials. So you can see there's the label, the size, the quantity, and this one is a consolidated list. That's why the quantities are 3, 7, 4, so on and so forth. So exactly the same member, same length is what it considers. All right. And then here, let's say if I don't want a consolidated schedule, I want it to show every single member as a separate piece. I'm just sorting the schedule so that it shows it by BIMSF label, and I'm hiding the quantity because now the quantity is one for everything. So here you can actually see what each member is, and it will actually show you exactly the list the way you would like it. And now with Ideate, we can actually populate this blank column over here. So I'm going to move it on to the next one. So Glynis, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Aparna. In this example, we're going to take a look at using BIMLink to sort of further massage and improve the data that Aparna just showed us. In BIMLink, what you can do is use, as I mentioned earlier, there's about 300 different examples. I'm just sort of walking through some of them now. You can also focus on a data category. So for example, I can pick structural framing, and I can see the samples that relate to framing on the top here, or my schedules, which relate to framing. And so in this first example, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some structural framing data that is currently displayed in a Revit schedule. So I'm using BIMLink here to kind of map the data from the Revit schedule into BIMLink. Once we do that, we can see all the data listed. It's very similar to a schedule environment. We can also add other properties. So I can filter here, for example, and find, maybe I want to look at the Z offset value and add that. It should be noted these properties are often more extensive than what a Revit schedule itself can do. I'm going to go ahead and add the structural material property as well. So if we look at the drop-down list here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you can even, for example, add coordinate data from the internal or survey coordinate system if you'd like to include that in your data output. So once you define all the properties that you're interested in managing, you can choose to edit them in the UI as I'm doing here. So I can swap, for example, the structural material. I can also, edit the description, which we're going to talk about a little bit in more depth in a second. But I can fill out those values in the UI. But really what BIMLink is about is managing quickly large volumes of data, which most of us can do much easier within the Excel environment. So I'm creating an Excel file here from BIMLink, and I'm going to be editing that data in the Excel file. And again, you can hand this off to someone who doesn't know Revit. So someone who doesn't know Revit can, for example, assign the structural material. And I know that Jim Cowan just asked about, carbon sequestration. That's a direct function of the material that's assigned. So being able to manage that in bulk is very powerful. So you can use the drop downs, you can use copy and paste, which is what I just did. I just made all of the materials pink. And then here's that one field that we actually had changed earlier in the UI, right? But I can also fill out the description values manually if I'd like here. In our next example, we'll get into a little more detail on that, but let's just go with this example here. So you make all the edits that you want to. You save the Excel file, and then you use BIMLink to import that data from that Excel file. And the Excel file can be anywhere. It can be up on the cloud. It can be on your local server. It can be on your desktop. You're just bringing that data into the model, and you're changing the model, right? It's metadata about the structural framing, or in this case, it's also literally the properties, the structural properties. You can barely see it here, but I made them all pink. So with BIMLink and Excel there, I was able to quickly edit all of the structural framing members and change the materials. So, and one of the things that we were talking about when Aparna and I were kind of strategizing on what would make an interesting presentation here, we talked about one of the really cool functions within MWF is the ability to kind of regenerate a panel. And so during that process, there's kind of a unique data challenge that we thought would be pretty interesting to talk about. So can you just sort of walk us through that data challenge, Aparna?
Yeah, for sure. So if you've used MWF in the past, or if you're still new to it, MWF uses regeneration to allow you to make changes to your panels. So let's say your stud size changed, your spacing changed, or maybe your window moved over by 2 inches, anything. Right? So in order for you to be able to incorporate that change effectively, instead of you moving each member manually, MWF has a regeneration function. With the regeneration function, what it does is it eliminates everything that already exists in the panel and rebuilds it from the template, or rebuilds it from the properties that you've already preset up. So because of that, we tend to lose our instance-based parameters, because the instance-based parameters are linked to a Revit ID, element ID. And since that old element ID has been deleted, or that element that had that old element ID has been deleted, the data gets refreshed. So using Ideate in the first pass, we actually were able to put in descriptions for our members on the left side, you can see. But after we made some changes to those panels, or this panel specifically, we had to rerun, we had to regenerate the shop, regenerate the panel and then regenerate the shop. And because of that, we ended up losing some data in our schedules. So using BIMLink, we were able to really quickly just import that schedule back, and it automatically read the list of data and repopulated the data back into the elements. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's walk through kind of how that logistically how that works.
Yep. There you go.
Perfect. Thanks. So in BIMLink, what we have on the right-hand side, we have an Excel file, and that's where our descriptions are. So the column B is our sort of custom descriptions, and column A is the acronym that comes from the MWF side. So, for example, if we're talking about an acronym that is TT top, for example, that's what we want to write in the schedule is we want to denote that as the top track designation, or so on and so forth. So these descriptions, we can control them, and we're going to map them back according to the acronym that's in column A there. And so we've got this Excel file on the right-hand side with a mapping tab, right? And so there's also a secondary tab, which is for BIMLink, the raw data. So what we're going to do in a second is we're going to write into this secondary tab the data from the model, which is shown on the left-hand side of the screen. So I'm closing that Excel file, and now back in the model on the left-hand side, we're going to use BIMLink to to write that data out and then pull the data back in with the mapping and with the information kind of mapped back to it. So the process is similar to what we did before. We'll use the new button, and we're going to use a schedule, the existing schedule, as sort of the basis, our starting point for the data collection. So we're just looking at a list of quite a few, and you can see there it tells you how many elements there are, and the preview shows you the first 10 of them. So we're going to write that data out. And of course, in the screen on the left in Revit, it's empty data, right? 2 of the fields are filled out. Here is where we're saying, hey, I want to add data to an existing Excel file on a certain tab. That's a really important function that BIMLink does. It lets you write into a specific tab of an existing spreadsheet. So the mapping tab, that's the one we saw earlier. And now you can see that the values for the description, they're already filled out. And the reason they're already filled out is because I have in this Excel file, there's a little macro that says, hey, just post this formula into column D. And that formula just says, hey, look at the mapping table and tell me what the actual descriptor value should be. So because the formula is there, it's a real simple, export out the raw data with the element IDs, populate the formula, and then import the resultant data back in. So we're reading actually the formula, and the value of the formula is what gets mapped back into Revit. So you see the part in the top there, the yellow, that's everything that's changed. And of course you can see the values, the description values on the left-hand side that are filling in that Revit schedule. So it's a real powerful way to kind of help us maintain that data. All right, so next up, I wanted to just talk about a couple other ways in which Ideate software is used by our construction and structure customers. In this example, you can go ahead and start. We're going to take a look at how Explorer itself can be further leveraged. Aparna showed us earlier an example, but I just wanted to highlight here the idea that in Explorer, it's a model browser. So I can type in the number 1817 and quickly find all the things that relate to that specific panel. And when I double click on the element, whether it's a sheet or a view or an actual mark value, you're going to be able to use Explorer to kind of find that and quickly go to that view. Maybe you need to change something in that view. Additionally, I want to mention, again, the filters. We saw the linked one before, but this one I wanted to highlight as a structure-specific example. This is a rule that says, show me all the structural elements, framing elements that meet a certain condition. And this happens to be an out-of-the-box one, and what I love is that you can use Explorer to kind of select them all and then crop and isolate a view where you can really further investigate this particular set of elements. So I double click again to zoom, and then I can use the check boxes to pick one or more of the elements in question. Maybe my action is I want to delete. I can use the internal delete command just to kind of confirm the action and make sure I understood what I was about to delete. And I think, again, one of the things about Explorer that I love is that it also helps me find things and select things that are otherwise really difficult to do. So here's a great example. It's a void element. It's an important aspect of the project, but I can't see it because it's a void. Lastly, the filter. This is how the filter actually works. It's a little bit like a Revit schedule. You just say, I'm looking at structural framing elements, and these are the rules. It has to be longer than 2 feet and ignore things that are a web or ignore things that are a chord. And those rules, those filter rules, they are, they're customizable. So you can decide essentially what are the common conditions in your projects that you need to look for to make sure your projects are maintaining, a certain level of quality. And the last example I wanted to talk about before we wrap up is Ideate automation. Here, if you can go to the next slide. There we go, and start that one. Ideate automation, before we go into automation, I want to go back to BIMLink and show you an example here. I'm going to be loading in, this is on the cloud, 2 link definitions. These are those collections of data within BIMLink. And in this case, what we're looking at is collection of data that relates to sheets. And so the first one here is a list of sheets that have a sheet name that begins with ext. The other link definition is also for sheets, and it's only showing me any sheet that begins with begins with the word panel. So I've got two sort of data criteria that I've defined by using BIMLink, and automation is actually going to leverage that information in a second here. So the example I want to show is a very common workflow. It's the idea that I want to publish to PDF, right? So I'm going to create a working outside of Revit. I'm going to define the PDF that I want for one or more Revit files. So in this example, I'm just going to pick one file, the one we've been looking at. And then I'm going to decide when I open it, which work sets are closed. And then I'm going to tell it where I want the PDF to land. So in this case, I'm going back to the construction cloud through the desktop connector. And now is where I'm going to tap into BIMLink. So you can use a Revit sheet list to define what it is you want to publish, but that's a static list. With BIMLink, these are dynamic, which means that if tomorrow Aparno does 5 more panels, those sheets are going to automatically be included in my automated export to PDF. So it's a very powerful idea that we can sort of dynamically define those things. So automation, what it will do is it will run in the background. It'll open the right session of Revit. It will read in that BIMLink definition, which is not inside the Revit project, but sitting somewhere outside. And then it will generate, in this case, 2 separate PDFs. Both of them are combined. And you can see the examples here of the 2 PDF sets. So the exterior one, which is the panel one here, is the one with the larger set of sheets. And again, it's going to be anything that happened to include the word panel at the beginning of the name of the sheet. And then the other one shows the panel one. So once you've sort of had a task, an export task like this, whether it's PDF or NWC or IFC or DWG, you're going to want to run and create it, make sure it's successful, and then once you've done that, you'll probably want to continue and schedule the data so that it can be published, on a weekly or daily or monthly basis. So you take your completed task. This is back to automation now. You hit the schedule button. You can give it a description if you want, and then you can define what is the frequency with which I'm going to publish this information. So in this case, maybe my goal is to do it weekly. I'll pick the weekly option there and then define, which days of the week I want it to run on and what time of day I want it to run on. And so a lot of our customers are really getting a lot of return on investment on this functionality of Ideate automation because it really standardizes all of these kinds of processes, and we don't forget them, and you can version them, up on the cloud, or you can version them locally on your machine by, providing names of the files that are unique and so forth. All right, and so next slide. I think Aparna, you want to speak to the trial?
Yep, sorry. So that's pretty much it for our technical demo. If you do have any questions, feel free to message them in the live chat. And if you would like a trial or a free trial for Strucsoft's tools, feel free to scan that QR code or reach out to our team on info@strucsoftsolutions.com, and you can go ahead and get a trial for that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies. And I did put that link for the free trial to Strucsoft right there on the screen here. In a second, I'm going to move that over to the Ideate software link so you guys can take advantage of those. Aparna, we did have a question that we want to see if you could answer. Marco asked, does Strucsoft provide NWF or Onyx mastery certificates or certifications?
Typically, we will provide certificate of completion, but there is no official completion mastery certificate.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let's see if we've got any additional questions here. And I want to thank Richard. He's on the back end there answering you guys' questions. So I think he got to most of them. He did call it. If you have any additional questions, you can email it to us at support@ideatesoftware.com. If you've got any workflow questions, that type of thing. I will be sending out the recording via email within 48 hours. If you guys don't receive it for any reason, you can always reach out to me. I'm going to throw my email in the chat there. But it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. But I do want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope it was meaningful and impactful for you and your businesses. We do look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Glynis, Aparna, thank you ladies so much for joining us as well.
Thanks, everyone. It was nice to be on the call. Appreciate it.
Nice talking to you all.